Welcome back to the Pirate 30, where we go over every single one of your favorite ECU sports in 30 minutes or less. My name is Mason.
I'm Jake. Let's get into it.
All right, it was a pretty rough week.
It's not going to sugarcoat it.
Yeah, we're not going to
It's tough,
sugarcoat it.
but,
Between football and between basketball, we are 0-3 this week after going 3-0 last week.
Last week was so.
We were happy. We were
having a good time
after
here,
a season of losing football. We were like, yes, two sports combined, including women too, 5-0. Women were 2-0. The men were 2-0 in basketball, and the football team came away from a win.
Just a great
This week, it was not the same. The football team came out and had the worst offensive performance of the season. After a week of momentum, coming off of a week of momentum, defense still showed out. We've talked about the defense prior. We're going to keep talking about the defense. They held Navy to 10 points. We went against Navy this weekend at Navy at noon on Saturday. Navy put up 10 points. I thought that was solid. Good defensive showing.
But unfortunately, the offense put up 0 points.
Yeah, it was the first shutout against ECU in 26 years. Yeah, that's rough. Not much positive to talk about in terms of that. ECU heading into the fourth quarter, I think a few minutes into the fourth quarter, had 84 total yards the entire game. If you watch the game, you know it took place at the 50-yard line pretty much the entire time.
Took place at midfield. It was just turnovers.
Yeah, between us and Navy.
I mean, there was one point where it was almost like there was just like 3 fumbles in a row.
Yeah, just back to back
at the 50-yard line.
Well, the second half wasn't much turnover-wise. First half was turnover city.
It was
turnover city the entire first half.
And the next half was just
going
like
back and forth.
Punt city.
Yeah, the whole time. Yeah, this was not the best football game to watch on both sides. I mean, it wasn't just us. Navy didn't have a good offensive game either. We played solid on defense, held them to just 10. But yeah, like we said, it took place at the 50-yard line pretty much the entire game, at least the first half.
Yeah, the first half especially was just like
they took off. They had some decent plays in the first half. They had a solid 19-yard touchdown, 2-yard. That was really the only exciting offensive drive of the whole game. Was they had a drive with just 2 plays. I think it was a 30-plus, 32-yard run followed by a 19-yard run for a touchdown for Navy. So that was solid for them. That was the only like I said, really exciting drive. 2 really good running plays. Outside of that, yeah, in terms of offense, not the game you want to watch. If you're a defensive football fan, this is your game. This is your game to come out and watch. This is your game to sit in the stadium because like we said, there was a lot of turnovers in the first half, a lot of fumbles. People were dropping the ball. We came out.
Yeah, and we were kind of predicting that this wouldn't be a very high-scoring game.
We did say that.
Going into it, we knew that both defenses were good, so it was going to be a pretty defensive-dominant game.
10-0 wasn't really expected.
Wasn't expecting to get shut out, but
no, we didn't expect a very high score. Not like what we did a few.
I mean, it was almost 10-3. Missed field goal.
Yeah, it was a long field goal. It was over 40, maybe 50 yards.
And considering how well he did last week.
Yeah, we talked about Conrad a lot last week. Yeah, I'm not blaming this on him either. I'm not putting a single second of this on him. But it was rough. Heading into the game, we had a top 5 defense. I actually didn't know this. We had a top 5 defense in our conference heading into this game. So despite going in 2-8, still a top 5 defense in terms of the American Conference. So you can't complain about that. That's something to look at and be proud of. But in terms of this game, just not much to look at and be proud of.
Yeah, even the first drive, I remember it started out pretty strong. Like Flynn was, performing well, and then just a really overthrown ball led to a pick, which almost acted as like a punt, basically. So it wasn't like a huge deal. It was it was still a pick nonetheless, but it was I
feel like
we've really overthrew it, so it just got the ball at their own 20, I believe.
Yeah. I feel like we've said the word momentum so many times over the past 3 weeks. Is this the third or the fourth episode, right? Yeah, fourth episode. But over the last 3 weeks, we've used the word momentum so many times. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't a huge deal because, like you said, it's pretty equivalent to a punt. Turnovers happen,
and it was the first drive, and I was just like, okay, this is fine.
We'll get it back. But in terms of momentum, it wasn't the greatest start, and that led to a 3-turnover first half from Flynn. He had 2 picks and a fumble in the first half. There was one pretty solid play by Flynn in the first quarter. I believe he had a ball fake that I don't think anyone is expecting because he's a big boy. He's not the fastest guy in the world. So people weren't really expecting that ball. That ball fake worked out, but outside of that, this offense just could not get anything going. Like I said, 84 yards heading into the fourth quarter. And he threw 2 picks. He had that first overthrown one Second one wasn't a very good ball either, and then he dropped the ball, quick fumble in the first quarter, and it was just frustrating because it's like it was. I mean, 10-0 game. You had it the whole game. You know what I mean? It's like it's within arm's reach the whole time. You just cannot. We couldn't ever get anything.
And it seemed like the defense was setting us up in really good field position, basically with like the turnovers and stuff. I remember one time we were at like basically the exact same like yard line, like for 2 drives in a row because of turnovers, and it was, I believe, around the 50.
No, it was. It was like the 50.
And we just did not come up with any points. So
the first
defense was really showing up.
The first one amounted in a turnover too. We got a turnover. Yeah. We got the ball back at around like the 50, their 40, something like that. And then that was a turnover on us. We turned the ball right back. And once again, we stopped them. I can't remember if that was a turnover or not. We stopped them though. We got the ball to about their 50 or 40, and then just nothing. Couldn't move it. Had to punt it, I'm pretty sure. And that sent it right back to them. Offense, just the rest of the game, nothing, man. Just nothing. It was rough, especially after like a week of like, if you see the post game interviews and listen to Mike Houston and see how the players reacted after last week's win, it felt like we had something going. It felt like the team was hyped for each other. It felt like, it's a rough season, but it's something to come on. We said the last few weeks there's something to come off of. We felt like this team, while they're not good, they were getting better to a degree, especially this defense, which I still enjoy watching. I still like. But I mean, I thought there was going to be more momentum heading into this game. We were going to be able to do something.
And I was hoping this game would be a close one. It seemed like going into it, I was like, okay, this is going to be a defensive game. I feel like it's going to be, pretty close, maybe down to wire. It could be exciting to watch. And it just really,
that's
not much really happened.
It felt like it was close. It just wasn't exciting.
Yeah, maybe that's why I'm saying it didn't feel close.
Yeah, it didn't feel close because it never felt really like going on. After the first half, it just never felt like they were going to get it together because there was just not a single crumb of momentum on our side. But I mean, outside of that, it was rough, man. It was rough. But defense still showed out. Julius Wood had a really nice play in the second half that we liked. He came up with a huge stop on, I believe, 3rd and short. That dude's a dog. He had a pick last week. He had another solid game this week. Like I said, like, you can look down this defense and find players that played well. Like I've been talking to people about the game since it happened on Saturday, last 2 days, talk to them just like how they feel, just people around the campus having little conversations about this team. And it's a lot of negative just because obviously first shutout in 26 years. But I've reminded them every time I've talked to them, I'm like, negative wise, this offense isn't good. But I'm like, this defense has hope. I keep telling them that, and they're like, it doesn't matter. But it's like, it does. We have hope on the defensive side, which means we go into this off season and we add pieces to this offense. We improve this offense, but we got something to work with. But I mean, I just don't know what to say.
Yeah, but rough. I mean, the defense, if the defense continues just setting us up and like really like in great field position, like turnovers, all that stuff. I was watching that and I was just like, the offense has just all the tools they need to just get some points, and they never really.
They're given every opportunity.
Yeah. So the defense is great. And the offense just needs to, something needs to happen.
Yeah, they need to. Yeah, I don't know, but in terms of something needs to happen, just have to mention this. Donnie Kirkpatrick, the current ECU offensive coordinator, was announced, I believe, yesterday, is parting ways with the team. It's a mutual parting. I believe Mike Houston announced this after the game. So we just have to say that it looks like we're going to have a new offensive coordinator next year. Who knows what new weapons we're going to bring in, new weapons we're going to be able to work with, what we're going to be able to do. But just after a lackluster offensive season, it was a mutual parting of ways from what was said on the report. So we just have to mention that. But rough season overall offensively. We've talked about it pretty much every week at this point, but it felt like certain things were starting to get together. Like if you watched the first 5 games of Pirate football this year, 5 to 6, it was screen pass city the whole time. It felt like the team would do some creative plays and there would just be multiple screen passes.
I did want to mention because there was a really good play that we had, and then we decided to run the same exact play right after.
Well, that was the ball fake, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. The ball fake we mentioned.
And then it just didn't work.
Yeah.
So, but it was a great play call the first time because it was like, wow, that was a great fake that actually worked.
Once you line up,
so if we had more stuff like that would actually be creative,
but put it in at the right times.
Yeah,
That's
and putting it in at the right times and not running it twice in a row.
Over, yeah. That was the
At
problem.
that point, they were like, "Yeah, we know what this is now."
I've seen our screen passes go for 10+ yards, but when you do them 2 to 3 times in a row, 2 to 3 times even on the same drive, it's just not going to work. You need to mix. And I don't know if that's our team not having the personnel to run more creative plays. I don't know if we have the players. Maybe we don't have the players to do that. But when you're doing those screen passes all the time, it's just not going to work. But I mean, yeah, but they didn't. I feel like it wasn't the most repetitive game we've had all season, but just nothing was working. We just couldn't get it together. It looked like in the second half, after the first half, it showed it on the camera. Mason Garcia was warming up.
Yeah, we thought Mason was going to get put in.
I was positive. They were saying that the announcers thought so too, because it showed Mason warming up, and then it showed Flynn like squatting down with his like head on his hand or his hands on his head. Like not looking obviously very positive, very negative game. He had 3 turnovers in the first half, but yeah, they just never put him in, which I was kind of surprised about.
Yeah, I was wanting to kind of see that.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, last 3 weeks, I've said I want us to solidify a starting quarterback.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm happy about is that because we didn't do it,
true,
we held true to our word on what we've done the last 3
Flynn,
weeks.
I mean, he has been performing well in the
outside of this, he hasn't done
especially
too bad.
last
Very,
game.
very, very good, at least ball or football manager, I would say, as a quarterback. Like you're not putting it in the hands of the defense a lot. You're also not doing anything too exciting on offense, but you're just doing your job to skate by and hopefully get a win. And you see that from a lot of teams that have a good defense but a pretty lackluster offense. So really, when you have a game manager, it'll get there. But yeah, no, he started turning the ball over, and that's the problem is when you have a game manager and they start turning the ball over, things head into disaster. And offensively, that's what happened this game. So it was pretty rough to watch. But would you think Mason would have made a difference? Because from what we've seen the rest of the season, obviously we've got like something to look like off of.
I'm not sure. I feel like it could have went either way. It maybe would have been good to kind of have someone else like go into the game and try it out because it seemed like Flynn was just
change something up,
just kind of like change something up, see how because at that point it was like we don't really have anything to really like lose.
Yeah,
it's just like let's try to figure out like what we can do like to make things better.
Just make something. He's also more athletic than Flynn. Flynn, I think, is more accurate and has a better arm.
I'm glad that they did stick with Flynn though, because at first I was like, I would kind of like to see Mason Garcia give it a shot, but like you said, we want to solidify a quarterback,
stay
a starter.
Word.
So the fact that we, still kept him in, it's just like, maybe he was having a little bit of an off day.
Yeah.
Just like, so
it's just rough because it's not like we played another like Tulane. It wasn't like we're playing a team that going in, we were expected to lose. The odds weren't in our favor. Vegas didn't like us. So like we weren't expected to come out of this with a win. But we were expected to put up a better offensive game than we did. That's pretty much the exact way to put it. Because we're not going to blame it on the defense. I'm not going to sit here and say 10 points. Why'd you give up 10 points? Like, come on.
Yeah.
Because for a while, it was just purely 7-0 for a while until the fourth quarter. This was a one-possession game for 3 quarters straight, at least one possession game for 3 quarters straight. And then Navy hit a field goal in the fourth to send it to 10-0 and finished off there. But we just couldn't. Defense showed up. We had a blocked kick in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Before they hit that field goal, we blocked one of their kicks. And we just couldn't get anything going. We had every bit of momentum. We were taking the ball away. They were turning the ball over in the first half. And then we get a blocked kick in the fourth quarter with over like 8 minutes left and just cannot do anything with it when it's a 7-0 ball game. And it wasn't even like, I don't even know, because there wasn't a lot of momentum going. But at the same time, when you block a kick like that, if you look on the sideline, you see them jumping, you see them cheering, and there just was nothing that came from it. There was nothing that came from it offensively.
Yeah, and ECU, they turned the ball over 3 times, I think, in the first half.
Yeah, 3 in the first half.
But the score was still 7-0.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, we were giving the ball, and the defense was still getting the job done. And we just
the defense was working overtime.
Overtime. I respect them for it. That's insane to see. Like, because usually after like a first half of it being that rough, you start to see a defense just give up. Yeah. You start to see a defense.
They were fighting.
And they were fighting the whole time. They were doing their job the entire game, and the offense just couldn't come through. And like, I don't know if Mason, I don't think he necessarily would have changed a lot about that, but Flynn just not his best game. Definitely his worst game since we started this podcast 3-4 weeks ago. It's the worst game we've seen in 4 weeks. And it was after, in my opinion, a pretty solid last few weeks compared to what we've seen the rest of the season. But yeah, that was just a rough outing. It ended with a 10-0 score. And good defensive game. Like we've said last few weeks, there's something to go into this defense or offseason defensively. Offense changes need to be made. We saw that with the report about Kirkpatrick. They're bringing in new people. I think they're going to bring in a few new personnel in terms of offensive weapons, because obviously we need something else. I like the wide receiver core right now. That's my biggest positive about this season and about what we've seen is that our top two wide receivers, Chase Sowell and Jalen Johnson, I like those guys. Those guys are dogs. When you look at this offense, those are the guys that make plays every single game. I like them. The rest of this offense, they need work. Offensive line, they had a rough day. Jalen Johnson and Chase Sowell, that is the light in the darkness that is this offense. Yeah. That's the bright light that we have. So that's what
changing up the play calling would
and we will. Yeah. I mean, that just got announced. So we're going to have some different play calling coming in. But definitely some changes that need to be made. Obviously, that's what you like to see, though, is when an organization professionally or in college, when they self-evaluate and they say, you know what, some changes need to be made. Obviously, it was mutual in terms of Kirkpatrick, so we're happy about that. But yeah, obviously, I'm happy we're going in and the team knows that changes need to be made and they're going to make them. Yeah. But we have some things ahead in terms of that wide receiving core. And we got a few dogs at running back. They make some plays sometimes, but yeah, I definitely think changes need to be made offensive line wise too, because they were rough. They were rough on Saturday. Like Flynn didn't play very well, but that offensive line did not hold up too well either. So
yeah, and his fumble that was basically
that was kind of on. I don't know. I mean, I think it was a sack though. I don't even think he was running it, but
was it? Oh yeah, I think it was a sack. Yeah. So can't really blame
that. Yeah, overall, football game wise, finish us out on that so we can move ahead.
Yeah, football wasn't a great game, unfortunately, which is upsetting because there was some hope going into this game because last week was such a great game. It was so much fun to watch. And this, the defense showed out per usual, but the offense just didn't put any points up. And first shutout in 26 years, was it?
26 years.
Yeah,
26 years.
It's not fun to watch, but we do have some pieces that we can just work on, and hopefully change is coming. And
we'll probably get into sports coming up this week and everything like we did last week. But despite the loss, despite the 10-0 lead, that does not stop the Pirates from playing moving forward. The Pirates play this Saturday against Tulsa.
Final home game. Yeah. If you're here,
if you're here, be there. It's at 2:00 on Saturday. So if you're here, come to it. Show out, cheer. It's the last home game of the season. We said a few weeks ago that it was the quote unquote last home game because obviously not a lot of people are here. But if you are here, show out, scream in that stadium, bring it. The team needs it. They could use some momentum from the crowd. But yeah, rough game, rough offensive game, solid defensive game. It finished with a 10-0 score, a Navy win this Saturday at noon. Let's go over some basketball, people. We played 2 games over this past week. We played Wednesday against USC Upstate, and then we played again yesterday on Sunday versus Northeastern. Both these games were losses, but we played solid in the first 2 games. We were without Brandon Johnson this week. He had a non-COVID related sickness, so he was one of our best players in the first 2 games. When we went 2-0, it was him and RJ Felton that were really leading this team. We were without him, and they had to play. They had to play without one of their best players. But I thought they were going to pull it through. We looked pretty good in both games.
Yeah, well, we were just talking about how last week we pretty much dominated both games 2-0. And there wasn't really much to talk about. It was just we're great.
Yeah.
And
we didn't have much.
But this week, these were some close games.
Yeah.
Really close.
You can't talk about much when there isn't a lot to improve. But yeah, we got a little bit to improve. But we were without Brandon. I think that's a huge
and loss. It went down to, especially the first game, it went down to the final second.
Yeah. I think we win. It's intense. We easily win both these games if we had Brandon Johnson. That's what I'm happy to look back at both of them and see is that, okay, we were without one of our stars and we kept it. The first game was a 2-point game. Second game was a 6-point game. We lost the first one, 83-81, down to the last second, like you said. Yeah. We lost the second one, 82-76. Not as last second, but still pretty good. We had a lead at halftime, which was really nice to see. We lost it moving forward. Obviously, didn't pull the game out.
And it wasn't really, I think the big thing about that game is the lack of 3 points.
Yeah, we could not hit a 3 in that game. Well, that's the thing. In the first game, it was free throws. We could not hit a free throw. We shot 60%, which is not very good free throw shooting.
There's always going to be one.
Yeah. But the thing is, that's what it comes down to. When you lose a game by 2 points and you shoot the ball 60% from free throw, you hit 3 more of those free throws.
Yeah.
Shoot closer to 70, 80%. all of a sudden you're winning this game. It's a Pirate win. We're 3-1. That's why it comes down to that. Like, it's very simple shots, very simple moments, but things that could win or lose you a game. And that's really what we saw this game on Wednesday. That was against USC Upstate. We shot, I believe, let me see here real quick. Versus USC Upstate, we shot 19 for 31, so 61.3% from free throw. Compared to our 30-point blowout against Ferrum in the first 2 games, the first game of the season, we shot 77% from free throw. So that's what, 16% better in the first game compared to that. You give us that 16% on Wednesday and we win that game. That's all I'm saying. So that's why I wasn't angry at our team. We without one of our star players. It came down to those free throws. It didn't make them, and we lost the game by 2 points. So that's really all you can say about that.
It was close. At least basketball was very exciting this week.
Yeah,
even though we lost, now we're 2-2, but definitely more exciting than the
exciting
football
games. Yeah.
There's points being scored.
Yeah. They were putting up points.
There's a lot of stuff to talk about for basketball, compared to last week when we were just, dominating.
Yeah, because you got things to fix, things to look after. You mentioned the 3-point percentage in the game yesterday. Free throws, we were fine. We shot 70%, so improved on Sunday.
She could not hit
Northeastern.
Not hit threes.
Could not hit a three. We shot 26% from three as a team. Coming off of, we said last week, that was the biggest thing our takeaway was from the first 2 games was behind the perimeter. We were money in the first 2 games. We were shooting the ball 40+%, which is all you can ask for from a team in terms of 3-point percentage. Yeah, we shot 26%, 6 for 23 against Northeastern after a pretty solid showing, 3-point percentage wise against USC Upstate, 35, which isn't terrible. No, Ferrum. I'm sorry, I said 40%. Ferrum, we shot 33, which still isn't horrendous, not great, but not horrendous, but it was solid. But we shot 35% against NCFC, so a solid 3-point percentage showing. But yeah, Northeastern was pretty rough behind the line, and I think Brandon Johnson definitely had a piece to do with that. Him not playing, like one of our favorite players. Obviously, the threat of him both in the post and behind the three would just be huge to have. Just having another threat, one of our top 2 threats, but we still have RJ Felton, which is the bright light, the beacon of this basketball team. He's a beast. He's a dog. We said it before. He's the best player on this team between him and Brandon, but I'll definitely take RJ. He's a guard that's leading this team in rebounds right now, putting up 7.7 rebounds a game. He's also giving you about 24 points a game, which is low compared to last week. It's still good. Lower compared to last week because he did struggle against Northeastern.
Yeah.
Which was it was pretty rough to see, but yeah, only 10 points from him. He didn't shoot very well against Northeastern. That was his first pretty bad game of the season. Coming off of, I think he had a career high against USC FC. He had 33 points. That's a career high for RJ Felton, even with a loss in that game. So that shows you, like, this dude's a dog. He's fighting for these. He's a walking bucket on this team in terms of when you go down to this whole roster. This dude's a bucket when he gets towards the rim. But yeah, he reminds me of I mean, I'm not going to say he's Russell Westbrook because that's Russell Westbrook. But in terms of the type of hyper athletic, can go get you a board, go get you a rebound type of guard. He's nice. RJ Felton. He's a nice basketball player. I'm glad to have him. But yeah, he had 10 points against Northeastern on Sunday. If he scores better, we definitely win that game. Those are my 2 takeaways. That the free throws hurt us. The second game was 3-point percentage. And if RJ would have hit a few more shots, I think we definitely walk out of there with a win. But yeah, what was his? We wrote this down. He's also got 2.7 blocks a game, which once again, as a guard, this dude's a good defender. He can go grab boards. He's a physical dude. But also, Ezra Asar came out. He played pretty well against USC Upstate, especially when Brandon's out. You need somebody to step up. He had 24 points, 8 rebounds. So a solid game from him. Obviously, a third option we can now look at. That's good to see. And like I said, if this whole team's together, we win that game. I think we win both of these games. I think we're a 4-0 basketball team at that point. So it was pretty rough to see the team drop both of those. But at least we saw a third player stand on his own, do his thing. All right, now let's get into some things that we got going on this week. The other sports you guys should be paying attention to. We got men's basketball tonight at 6 versus Georgia Southern. Come out, show out to that. I think we're gonna walk away with a win for that one. We also have tomorrow at 6 p.m. versus Kennesaw State. You can see both of those on ESPN Plus and also listen to those on 94.3 The Game. In terms of women's basketball, we got it today at 1:30 p.m. against Ohio State in the Bahamas. We also have it on Wednesday, women's basketball at 11 a.m. versus Seton Hall. You can look up the stats, watch all of the live stats on those on ECUPirates.com.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was the Pirate 30. I'm Jake.
I'm Mason.
We'll see you in the next one.
Bang.